Let's unbox the Hot Wheels Starships Select TIE Fighter and Variant. Villa Varykino. If it's Star Wars, we collect it. Hello there. Thanks for visiting Villa Varykino. I've been having a lot of fun unboxing the Hot Wheels Starships Select line. I recently took a closer look at the Ghost and the Variant Ghost, and it was really interesting seeing the details and differences between those two ships. So I decided to bring out another one that also has a matching variant. You can see I have here the original trilogy TIE Fighter with the matching variant. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Coming up very soon, I'll take a closer look at both of these out of the box, check out all of the cool details and differences, but first let's take a closer look at the packaging. You can see that this is an older one, number 2 from the line to be exact. So we're going all the way back to the start. Of course, the line had to include the iconic TIE Fighter very early on. So you can see the packaging is pretty much the same between these two with just a few small differences. On the front of the original one, we have TIE Fighter and the Hot Wheels Starships Select logo down here. On the variant, that banner is blue. So we can see when we're shopping on the store shelves, it doesn't have a sticker, but it is very clearly marked, and underneath the Starship Select it says the word variant. The very first time for this one, I didn't know exactly what I was hunting for on the store shelves. I wasn't sure if I just needed to look really closely through the window and see what differences I could spot. So it's nice to know that they are clearly marked if you are hunting down the original and the variant for yourselves. On the top, we have a black and white line art image there of the TIE Fighter with the faction symbol there, the Imperial symbol in red, and number 2 with the TIE Fighter text there on the hanger. So for the variant, following along with that blue banner, we also have a blue color scheme up here, and instead of white art up here, it's also blue. And we have the Imperial symbol there in blue, and the number on the hanger tag is also blue. So nice and easy to spot on your store shelf if you're trying to be a completionist and pick up all of the variants there. So really nice to see that it is clearly marked. So taking a look at the bag, we can see some of the other ships included in this line, and we can see the TIE Fighter on the included stand that we can do some rotation there to pose it at different angles. So that first wave included X-Wing Fighter Red 5, Boba Fett's Starship, and the Razor Crest. So these look kind of small on the back here. I feel like in the modern era, these images are a little bit larger so you can see them a little clearer. It's kind of funny. And then on the back of this one, the store sticker for this store really doesn't want to come off, so I've just left it on there. But on the back here, you can see that this one does actually have the battle damage. It isn't just the generic same picture as the original one. This one does have the variant pictured, and you can see the other ships that were included in this line. And these ones are definitely a larger scale here, particularly for the Razor Crest. That was the Razor Crest pictured here and here. They've gotten much better with making sure that the pictures are nice and clear and easy to read. So for this one, we have the Razor Crest, the TIE Interceptor, and the Mandalorian's N1 Starfighter there. So quite different on the back there. But yep, everything else is pretty standard between the two. I must say I did really enjoy the packaging for this line, but over time, now that I've been unboxing them, I do prefer them out of the packaging. They match really nicely, putting them all on your shelf like this, but because they don't have a window or anything on the top, they do look quite dark. And the internal sort of packaging is often black for these ships as well, which just gives it overall a very dark, sort of shadowed interior. I think these are going to look much better getting them out so we can see all of the cool details from all angles under good lighting. So yeah, that is the packaging. Now let's open these up and take a closer look. So now I have both TIE Fighters and their display stands out of the packaging. Just wanted to quickly show the internal box art. This was behind these starships. Pretty hard to see there in the back. It is primarily black with a white sort of blueprint style artwork of the ships included in each of the waves. So this one was the regular TIE fighter. We can see it there. We have Boba Fett's starship, the Razor Crest, and a X-Wing. This one over here, we've got the Razor Crest, TIE Interceptor, and the Mandalorians in one. So if you don't keep the whole box, you can cut out this cool artwork there and keep that, maybe a fun display piece to put behind the ships on display. So yeah, I thought that was quite fun. So now let's take a closer look at the ships themselves, and I'm going to start with the original one. It's always really fun getting to hold these for the first time because of course they are metal. I know you can feel the weight of them by holding them in their box, but this does give you a truer sort of representation of the weight of the ship because they are pretty hefty really. So a pretty iconic TIE fighter here. I love this kind of dark grey blue color that they have used here. Looks really nice. And of course we've got that fine detail here on the wing panels. Goes all the way in, and I really like just the texture of it in this fine detail. Looks really, really nice. And all of the little greeblies here on the wings. And I'm really quite a fan of the sort of weathering and paint apps that they use for the Hot Wheels Starships Select line. There's something about it that gives it a very different feel to plastic toys, say the Micro Galaxy Squadron line. They look very different, the way that the weathering kind of accents the sort of metal sculpting. We can see the wash and sort of weathering on this one is a little bit darker over here. We've got a little bit sort of a dark grey wash around the cockpit and around the wings. If I give these ones a little bit of a wiggle, I'm pretty sure they are fixed on. If I can't see any sort of attachment points, and generally speaking, when you get to sort of attachment points for metal toys, they are going to be sort of riveted and bolted together. You generally don't have too many sort of metal on metal joins that are supposed to click together. It's not as easy. You can see we have an attachment point there on the underside where we're going to put that onto the display stand, and on the back we can see that rivet there kind of fits in quite nicely. It's obviously an obvious sort of screw there. It's obviously not sculpted, it's not painted over or anything like that, but the shape of the back of the TIE fighter really does kind of help hide it a little bit, kind of blends in there. And of course we have the cockpit there on the top. The cockpit isn't it might be hollow on the inside, but we can't see. This is a painted window, and there are no sort of slots or holes or windows here on the top. And you can see the seam line where the front and back halves of this vehicle sort of joined together, which you can kind of see it clearly. It does line up pretty well along that join, but generally speaking, we're going to have it displayed this way around, and I can barely see it there from the front. So that is a painted cockpit, but the painting is really quite tidy here. I really like that gloss black. We've got a grey accenting all of the sort of the struts around the window there. We've got some tiny little red accent points here on the front. And yeah, the detail continues there onto the inner. We've got these sort of little black circles and, you know, some of those things that toys just have to have. We've got a sort of a flat panel there that says L, and over here, if I can get the light to shine on it, we've got a panel here that's got the sort of Lucasfilm. So this one, I guess, is R for right, and this one is L for left. That's what I'm guessing. It seems like that's probably the most obvious explanation for that lettering. Helps them put them on the right way round there. But overall, I really like the weathering and the color on this. I don't see paint running over onto the black, or black running over onto the color. It's always very distracting if that is unfortunately an occurrence on your figures and toys. Just maybe a tiny bit on this side where the blue has run over a tiny bit onto the black, but pretty minimal there. Overall, very tidy. The seams and everything are fit together really nice and tight. And one thing that I noticed is it sits on the desk here very straight. The wings are pretty even to each other, so we haven't got a little bit of wobble where it's kind of, you know, one of them's tipping up or something weird. Very nice. So if you don't want to use the included display stand, looks very tidy just sitting there like that, but I am going to put it on the stand in a moment. But first, let's take a closer look at the variant, because it's kind of packaged facing a little bit further forward in the box, but now that we've got it out, we can really see the detail here. So looking at these close up, I think it's like some sort of an applied, maybe like a decal or something like that, because this just looks so tidy, and it has a subtle sort of gloss to it, and it almost has sort of like a printed finish. I'm no expert in how they are going to make these in the factory. The wing on this one has a tiny little bit of wiggle to it, so I don't think it has been completely affixed securely. It's got a little bit more wiggle that I noticed on this one, or even on this one. I don't know per se if they have used any glue on these ones, so I'm just going to be a little bit careful with the wing on this side, just in case it has not broken, but if there's a potential for it to break away. But I love that battle damage there. I love the kind of fiery, hot, sort of molten metal effect there with those colors. Definitely is quite striking, isn't it? I know that for some battle damage toys, they kind of have it, you know, eaten away, so there is a section missing. This one, it is just fully intact, and we've got those sort of printed elements there. And then we also have a little bit on the internal cockpit section here. I like the sort of trailing effect, like it's been hit on the front and the damage has kind of trailed and created a little bit of sort of carbon scoring going towards the back there. Again, the details are pretty nice and tidily painted. This one has slightly less weathering compared to the cockpit of the original one, but the weathering will vary from ship to ship, item to item. And then we can see the damage on this one. So it isn't a complete match. They are very different. So it doesn't look odd that they got hit in the exact same place on both sides. I do think this one, I think this is kind of supposed to give it more like a sort of an eaten away edge, but we do still have a very hard edge because it is so close. I think I like the weathering on this side better. It's just something about it that gives it more of a sort of a movement like it happened during flight. This one, these sections here give it that same sort of movement, but these ones along the edges just look a little bit more like something happened while it was still. I think perhaps because they're in sort of a different plane of movement there. And I know it, you know, it makes sense for it to be hit in different places as it's flying along. There's just something about the placement of this one so close to the edge that I think is my least favorite out of all of the marks. But I really do like the detail there. Those bright colors really do catch the eye. And again, the painting for the details here, that weathering that they use really accents all of the detail from the metal sculpting. Looks really nice. Just being very careful with that wing. There isn't any weathering on the inside panels here. Doesn't sort of go through or anything like that. They haven't done like a matching weathering on the inside. And this one has different sculpting panels. So we can see down here, we have a very small sort of Lucasfilm and Hot Wheels stamped logo there. We don't have a large letter, and no letter on the internal panel here as well. So they have gotten rid of that for this version. Interesting. We do still have those sort of little circles around the inside there. But yes, and we've got the attachment point, and we've got the top of the cockpit there. Again, we've got the same seam line. Not too noticeable. Everything lines up pretty well there. We can sort of see some of the weathering that they have used here. A little bit paler here on this particular one. And it almost looks clean from the back on this one. A lot more sort of that blue color coming through, and we can just see that joining rivet there. So if I grab this one, we can kind of see the colors there at the back. This one has just got sort of a little bit more of a speckly gray going on the back. And now we can turn them around and look at them from the front. And we can see this one's got that heavy weathering, particularly around this section here compared to this one. But these wings, That's so fun seeing them side by side and under better lighting than they are in the box. That's really quite cool. I know that the weathering is perhaps going to come across as a little bit of a gimmick for some collectors. I know that if you're just trying to complete the line and not looking for the variants, this one's definitely going to be of the widest appeal. But I think these do look really quite fun, especially if you want to collect them all. I like how different this looks, and I can see the weathering that they have used to sort of accent the blue. It's a lot heavier on the outer edge here. A lot more sort of black weathering showing through here, particularly around this corner compared to that one. I'll put some still photos up on the screen because I think sometimes still photos can show some of that really fine detail a little bit better. And we'll have a look at these sides here as well. So again, the weathered one has a much heavier black sort of accenting colors around the outer edges of the wings compared to the original clean one. But overall, it's really cool seeing these side by side. Very, very cool. This one does feel very sturdy. This one, it's obviously just my particular one. There's just a little bit of a wobble to this wing. And it does feel like if I was rough with it, I might damage that one. So I'm just being a little bit careful. So let's get them on their stands. I'm going to start with the variant one first. We have the included box here with the two components that we're going to assemble into the display stand. The base is wrapped in tissue paper, and then we have the actual stand component there with the ball joint attachment piece. So wrapped up in tissue paper, we have the black stand with silver foil printing. We've got the Imperial symbol there and TIE Fighter there written across the front. And then on that front edge, we have the Star Wars logo stamped and the Hot Wheels logo stamped on the other side. So let's go and assemble the two pieces. Nice snap click there, very sturdy. So I'm just going to pop that packaging out of the way, and let's get to this attachment point onto the stand. It doesn't click so much as just sort of applying sturdy, even pressure. And there we go. So let's have a look at that on the stand. Wow, that looks so cool. I love the stands from this line. Really nice. And of course, because it is a ball joint, we can rotate it around. Got some movement there. The wings are going to hit the stand if we sort of try and spin it around 360. The thing does say 360, but we're going to hit as soon as we get to there. So technically you can rotate it 360, but the TIE Fighters in particular are not going to be able to do that. But let's get them both on their stands. So we've got the same sort of packaging here. And this one's in tissue paper. We have that same logo there in printing, same stamping there on the front. The variants don't seem to have anything noted on their display stand that notes that they are a variant. So I guess you could mix and match there if you want. I kind of wish it did say something, but I like the clean display stand. So when you've got them all together, they all match and look really nice there. So we can see those together. It doesn't have anything blue like some of the outer packaging. It uses blue to differentiate between the standard and the variant. There isn't any difference for the display stand. So once you get them all on display together for your collection, it all looks very, very uniform. The one outlier is the recently released prototype Obi-Wan Kenobi's Jedi Interceptor that has a contrasting white display stand. At this point, that is the only different one I have come across from my own collection, but it does really, really match the sort of quirky prototype colors and design style for that particular ship. So it definitely does need its own unique stand. So I think these look so cool. I love the way that the Hot Wheels line looks on their display stand. There's something about this one that's just standing a little taller, and my brain can't figure it out. It's just, when I put them together, this one's sitting up a little higher. And I haven't quite figured out what that is. I think that, is it the stand that's actually higher? I haven't come across that before. This one, it's a slightly higher stand. I couldn't figure that out because you can see the wings on this one are taller. I thought they would be the same. This one is the one that came out of the variant box, and that is a taller display stand. I haven't come across that before. The Ghost had exactly the same display stand between the variant and its regular one. They have changed this at some point. Interesting. This one is number 2 from the line, and I haven't opened up many from that earlier era. So I haven't actually seen them change the stand. All of my ones are all exactly the same from the ones that I have opened from the recent waves, like the Scythe and the Interceptor. So that's kind of interesting. This is my first experience seeing that taller one. Perhaps it is a bit of a better balance for the Starships. I'm going to have to compare this older display stand to some of my others and see if this one is the outlier as an older ship. Because I generally don't go around with an exact measurement of how tall these ones are. This is my first time comparing them side by side, so that's just kind of really fascinating to me. So yeah, they will look a little bit different putting them side by side like this. I'm going to have to line them all up, and now I've got to get cracking and open up all of my Hot Wheels and see where that difference comes across in like X-Wings, the Millennium Falcon, some of those older ones through to the newer ones. Oh, this just looks absolutely fantastic. They really do look better out of the box. I'm sorry for those of you that do keep them boxed. I know there's always that temptation of buying everything twice. Keep one in its box because it always looks cool in the box, and then getting one out so that you can appreciate all of the details and the lighting. I wish I could afford or have the storage space to do everything twice. But I really love the way that they look out of the box. You can just see all of the details, all of the colors, and you can appreciate all of those sort of fine details. And I think they look absolutely amazing on their display stands. Really, really cool. Oh, I'm absolutely loving this. Having so much fun. When you get toys out of their box and get to appreciate all the details and add them to your collection, it's always fun because, you know, as collectors, I know these items are generally sold in the toy department, but we don't really play with them. So unboxing them is my way of enjoying them as if I were a child, because it is just exciting, isn't it? It takes us back to our childhood when we first discovered Star Wars, had toys in our childhood, collected them. It just brings back that joy we felt. This is just so much fun. You gotta love the iconic TIE fighter, isn't it? It makes me want to do the TIE fighter noise as I'm going to put this away on my display shelf, isn't it? It's just such an iconic sound. I think all of us, children and adults, have run around the living room with a TIE fighter at some point, making that noise. This just looks absolutely amazing. I had so much fun. This looks really cool. I gotta say, I'm actually kind of torn. I think this one is, you know, perfect and iconic, just in its clean state there. But there's something really fun. Obviously, in A New Hope, we see several TIE fighters meet their end. So it's kind of fun having that fiery battle damage there. I'm glad I have both. Generally in New Zealand, we do struggle a little bit to find the variants. Sadly, there are a few missing from my collection. I was super excited to be able to find the Ghost recently. I thought that one might have eluded me, so because I am trying to collect them all. So there you go. Let me know in the comments down below if you like both, if you have a favorite one over the other. I'm really glad I was able to find this one. I think it looks really cool to have them side by side, and the differences in this display stand is kind of interesting. I haven't seen that before, so there we go. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today as I opened up 2 more Star Wars collectibles and had some fun. I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are in the galaxy, and let's hang out again very soon. Catch you in the next video, and as always, may the Force be with you. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like. Check out our other videos and subscribe for alerts about new uploads. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.